Billionaire finds a poor mother crying with her baby twins in the rain. What he does is unbelievable. The rain was falling hard that night. It wasn't the fine drizzle that slowly soaks everything. It was heavy, beating down violently on the asphalt, drenching everything in seconds. The wind was cold, pushing water inside the old, broken-down bus stop. Sarah was huddled in the corner, trying to make herself small against the cracked glass wall, but it was no use. Water ran down the leaky roof and dripped directly onto her back. She clutched the two babies tightly to her chest, trying to shield them with her own body. Lily was crying loudly, her tiny face red from the effort. Daisy was whimpering softly, too exhausted to scream. Both were wet. Their cotton onesies clung to their skin. The girls' blonde hair was stuck to their small foreheads. Their bright eyes were squeezed shut as they cried. Sarah rocked back and forth in a desperate attempt to calm her daughters. It wasn't working. "Shh, my darlings. Easy now," she whispered, but her voice trembled so much that barely any sound came out. Sarah was 26 years old, but at that moment, she looked like she had lived twice that. Her brown hair was plastered to her face. Her eyes were red and swollen from crying so much. Her thin shirt was completely soaked, clinging to her body. Her old sneakers squelched with water with every movement. 7 months. The twins were only 7 months old, and Sarah had nothing left, nowhere to go, no hidden money, no one to call for help. She glanced at the wristwatch that still worked, the only object of any value remaining. It was past 10 o'clock at night. No bus was going to pass through there, not at this hour. Not on this forgotten street on the outskirts of the city. Sarah bit her lip hard, trying to hold back another wave of tears. She failed. The tears came warm, mixing with the cold rain that drenched her face. "I'm so sorry," she whispered to the babies. "I'm so incredibly sorry." Lily opened her blue eyes for a second, clear as crystal, but closed them right away, crying even louder. Daisy continued to whimper weakly, as if she had no energy left. Sarah tried to pull air in, but her chest wouldn't obey properly. It felt like someone had tied a rope around her lungs. She tried to take a deep breath, but the air caught halfway. Panic, pure despair. What do I do now? What do I do with them? The questions spun endlessly in her head, with no answer, no way out. She had failed. She had lost everything. Her job, her home, her dignity, and now her daughters were here, wet and cold because of her. It was at that moment that the sound of an engine cut through the noise of the rain. Sarah raised her head, pushing her wet hair away from her eyes. An elegant black car was slowly gliding down the street. The headlights illuminated the raindrops like falling small diamonds. It was the kind of car Sarah only ever saw from afar, in wealthy neighborhoods. The car drove right past. Sarah lowered her head again. Of course. Why would anyone stop? But then she heard the sound of brakes. The car stopped a few yards ahead. The reverse lights came on, reflecting red in the street water. The vehicle began to slowly back up, stopping right in front of the bus stop. Sarah froze. Her heart pounded. Fear mixed with confusion. The driver's door opened. A man got out. Tall for in his mid-30s, dark hair already damp from the rain. He wore a dress shirt and jeans, expensive shoes clearly stepping into puddles without hesitation, replacing Michael with Ethan. He looked at Sarah, then at the babies in her arms. His expression changed completely. "My God," he said softly, but she could hear him. Sarah hugged the girls tighter. Protective instinct. She didn't know this man. She didn't know if she could trust him. The world had hurt her too much to trust strangers. "Hey, calm down." The man raised both hands, showing his open palms. "I won't hurt you. I just want to help." Sarah couldn't answer. Her throat was completely closed up. The man approached, allowing the rain to soak him entirely now. His shirt clung to his body, but he didn't seem to care. He came closer and crouched in front of her, getting down to her level. "You need help," he said. It wasn't a question. It was a statement. Sarah just stared at him, trembling. "What happened?" he asked again, more slowly. "Why are you here with these children in the rain?" Sarah opened her mouth, closed it, tried again. The words wouldn't come out. But then something inside her broke. We were evicted. The voice came out in a thin thread, almost lost in the noise of the storm. The man leaned closer. How? Sarah took a deep breath, gathering courage. We were evicted, she repeated, louder now, the voice coming out in a strangled cry. This morning. The landlord threw everything out on the street. I couldn't carry anything, just them. Tears exploded completely. Sarah bent forward, protecting the babies while sobbing. I lost my job, she continued, unable to stop now. I called out because Daisy had a high fever, and my boss, he fired me without warning. I tried to pay the back rent, but I couldn't. And the landlord, he showed no mercy. Her voice broke entirely. He threw me out on the street with them in the pouring rain. He didn't even care. Lily cried harder, sensing her mother's despair. Daisy whimpered, feverish. The man stood still for a few seconds. Sarah saw anger flash across his face. Anger and something else she couldn't identify. But then, without warning, he took off his jacket. It was a nice as expensive jacket, probably costing more than Sarah made in an entire month of work. He opened it and carefully wrapped the two babies, sheltering them from the rain that continued to fall mercilessly. Get up, he said, extending his hand to her. Let's get out of here. Sarah hesitated. She looked at his hand as if it was some trap. I have nowhere to go. I know, he replied firmly. That's why I'm getting you out of here. Come on. But I don't know you. My name is Ethan, he said, and I'm not going to let you freeze to death out here, so get up now. Something in his voice made Sarah obey. She took his hand. The touch was firm, warm, real. Ethan pulled her up carefully, holding the babies with his other arm. Sarah almost fell. Her legs were completely numb. Slowly, Ethan held her by the shoulders. I've got you. Sarah leaned on him, trembling from head to foot. Her legs could barely support her own weight. Ethan guided her to the car, walking slowly so she wouldn't trip. He opened the back door and settled the babies onto the seat carefully, keeping his jacket covering them. Sit in the front, he said. Sarah slid into the passenger seat. The leather was soft, warm. Everything in the car smelled new. Ethan got in, closed the door and started the engine. He immediately turned the heater on full blast. Warm air began to flow out. He opened the glove compartment and pulled out a small towel, handing it to Sarah. Dry your face. Breathe slowly. Sarah obeyed, wiping the towel across her face and neck, but she continued to tremble uncontrollably. Ethan started driving, pulling away from that abandoned street. Silence. Sarah looked out the steamed-up window, still unable to process what was happening. It felt surreal, like she had passed out there at the stop and this was just a dream before death. What's your name? Ethan asked after a few minutes. Sarah. Sarah, he repeated, as if testing the sound. And the babies. Lily and Daisy, she whispered. Twins. Ethan glanced in the rearview mirror. The two girls were calmer now, the car's warmth taking effect. How old? 7 months. Ethan gripped the steering wheel tightly, his knuckles turned white. Sarah realized he was angry, but not at her. They continued in silence for a few more minutes. Sarah had no idea where they were going, but strangely, she didn't feel afraid, just a fatigue so deep she could barely keep her eyes open. Suddenly, Ethan stopped the car. Sarah blinked. They were in front of a store with bright lights, a 24-hour convenience store. Come with me, Ethan said. Can't leave them alone in the car. Sarah got out, her legs shaky. Ethan helped her take Lily and Daisy, who were still wrapped in his jacket. They entered the store together. The heat inside was almost violent after the cold. Sarah stumbled, dizzy. Ethan held her arm. Easy, breathe. Sarah took a breath, trying to stabilize herself. Ethan grabbed a shopping cart and began walking through the aisles. He didn't ask anything. He just picked up things. Sarah followed him in silence, watching. He threw into the cart. Baby clothes. 2 of each, pink and yellow. Diapers. A large package. Formula. 2 cans. New bottles. Fuzzy blankets. Large and small towels. Wet wipes. Ointment. Fruit baby food. A thermometer. Sarah finally managed to speak. "I can't pay for all this." Ethan didn't even look at her. "I didn't ask you to pay." "But it's too expensive." "Sarah," he stopped, looking into her eyes. "Let me help." "Just let me." She closed her mouth, the tears returning. At the checkout, the clerk looked at Sarah with obvious pity. Sarah felt shame burn her face. "It's all going to be okay, sweetie," the woman said softly as she scanned the products. Sarah just nodded. Ethan paid for everything without checking the price. The clerk put everything into bags. "Do you want to use the restroom to change the babies?" she offered. "There's a changing station there." "Yes, thank you," Ethan answered for Sarah. In the restroom, Sarah changed the girls' soiled diapers. She cleaned them carefully, applied ointment, put on clean diapers, and dressed them in the brand new clothes. Lily and Daisy looked like different people. Clean, dry, comfortable. Their bright eyes were no longer so red from crying. Sarah looked at her daughters and whispered, "We're going to make it, I promise." When she came out, Ethan was waiting with the bags. "Better?" "Yes, thank you so much." They returned to the car. Ethan put everything in the trunk and got in. This time, Sarah allowed herself to minimally relax in the seat. Ethan drove for about 15 minutes, turning into a nice residential neighborhood, large houses, tree-lined streets, everything clean and organized. He stopped in front of a 2-story house, nice but not extravagant. "We're here," he said. Sarah looked confused. "So this is, my house?" Her heart raced. "I can't." "You can." Ethan got out of the car. "Come on, it's still raining." He took the bags. Sarah got out, holding the babies. Ethan opened the front door and turned on the lights. Sarah entered slowly. The house was welcoming. A large, comfortable sofa, a bookshelf filled with books, simple paintings. Everything clean but lived in. It smelled like coffee and wood. "The bathroom is over there," Ethan pointed. "There are towels. Take a shower, change your clothes. I'll prepare some food." Sarah stood still, speechless. I don't know how to—" "You don't need to thank me now," he interrupted gently. "Just go." "The girls need a warm bath too." Sarah walked to the bathroom as if she were floating. She filled the tub with warm water, took off the girls' clothes and put them in the water. Lily and Daisy calmed down instantly. Sarah carefully washed their blonde hair, removing all the street dirt. Then it was her turn, a quick shower, washing the despair from her body. She put on the clothes Ethan had bought, sweatpants and a simple top. They were too big, but they were clean. When she came out, a wonderful smell was coming from the kitchen. Ethan was stirring a pot on the stove. He had changed his clothes too. "Sit," he said. Sarah sat down, holding the clean babies on her lap. Ethan placed a bowl of soup in front of her. "Eat slowly." Sarah ate. It was delicious. Every spoonful warmed her from the inside out. Ethan prepared bottles. He tested the temperature before handing them to Sarah. Lily and Daisy drank everything, their eyes closing with exhaustion. "There's a room at the end of the hallway upstairs," Ethan said while doing the dishes. "Or you can sleep there with them." Sarah looked at him. "Thank you," she said. Her voice choked. "Seriously, you saved us." Ethan turned, drying his hands. "No one deserves to be in the rain like that, especially with babies." Sarah felt the tears but held them back. "Go rest," he said. "We'll talk tomorrow." Sarah went upstairs, found the room. Clean bed, white sheets, fluffy pillows. She laid the twins down, surrounding them with pillows. Lily and Daisy were sleeping soundly, their angelic little faces finally at peace. Sarah lay down beside them, pulling up the blanket. She closed her eyes, and for the first time in months, she slept without fear, without the terror of waking up on the street again. without worrying if there would be food tomorrow. Just peace. Sarah woke up to the smell of coffee. For a second, still groggy from sleep, she thought she was dreaming. But then she heard the gentle sound of pots clanking in the kitchen. She opened her eyes. The room was illuminated by a soft light coming through the window. The sun had finally appeared after the storm the night before. Sarah turned her head and saw Lily and Daisy sleeping next to her, surrounded by pillows. Both were breathing peacefully, their little faces calm, their blonde hair spread on the white pillow, alive, safe, warm. Sarah felt a tightness in her chest, but this time it was relief. She slowly got up, trying not to make a sound. Her legs were still tired, but they weren't trembling like the night before. She wore the clothes Ethan had bought, simple, but clean and dry. Sarah left the room silently and walked down the stairs. She paused at the kitchen doorway. Ethan was there, his back to her, stirring something on the stove. He was wearing a grey t-shirt and sweatpants. His dark hair was slightly messy, as if he had just woken up too. The table was already set. Sarah watched everything with wide eyes. There was a plate of steaming scrambled eggs, fruit cut up in a bowl, strawberries, bananas, apples, a large bowl of warm oatmeal, a pitcher of orange juice, and a coffee maker with fresh coffee, the smell filling the entire kitchen. It was more food than Sarah had seen in weeks. Ethan turned and saw her standing in the doorway. He smiled, a small, gentle smile that lit up his face. "Good morning," he said. "Sleep well?" Sarah nodded, still a little lost. "Yes. The girls too." "That's good." Ethan pointed to the table. "Sit. You must be hungry." Sarah slowly entered and sat down in one of the chairs. It felt wrong to be there. It felt like she was invading someone's life. Ethan placed a glass of juice in front of her. "Drink this. It will do you good." Sarah picked up the glass and took a sip. The juice was cold, sweet, perfect. She hadn't had real orange juice in months. Ethan sat down on the other side of the table with a cup of coffee in his hands. "Are the babies still sleeping?" he asked. "They are. I think the warm bath helped." "Definitely." Ethan took a sip of his coffee. They must have been exhausted. Sarah stirred the oatmeal with the spoon, unsure if she should eat. It felt too heavy to accept so much kindness from a stranger. "Eat," Ethan said, noticing the hesitation. "I made it for you." Sarah finally brought the spoon to her mouth. The oatmeal was creamy, lightly sweetened, warm. She closed her eyes for a second, savoring it. They were silent for a few minutes. Sarah ate slowly, trying not to look desperate even though she was starving. Ethan just drank his coffee, watching out the window. "The rain stopped," he commented. "It should be a nice day today." Sarah looked out the window too. The sky was clear, blue, as if the storm the night before had never happened. "Yeah," she murmured. More silence. Sarah ate a slice of strawberry, sweet, juicy. She almost cried over something so simple. "Do you live here alone?" Sarah asked softly, breaking the silence. Ethan nodded. "Yes, just me. The house is big for just one person." "It is." He gave a half smile. "I bought it thinking I'd have a family one day. But it didn't happen." Sarah bit her lip, feeling she had touched upon a sensitive subject. "Sorry." "I didn't mean to pry." "You won't." Ethan shook his head. "Just life, you know, sometimes things don't go as planned." Sarah knew that well. "Do you have family?" she asked. "Parents, siblings?" Ethan was quiet for a moment, looking at the coffee in his cup. "No. I lost my parents in an accident when I was a teenager. I was an only child, never married, no kids." "So, it's just me." His voice was calm, but Sarah sensed the hidden sadness there. "I'm so sorry," she said sincerely. "Thank you." He shrugged. "It was a long time ago. I got used to it." Sarah looked around the kitchen. Everything was clean, organized, perfect. But there was something there, a feeling of emptiness. As if the house was waiting to be filled with more life, more noise, more people. "It must be quiet," Sarah commented. "It is," Ethan agreed. "Very quiet. I work all day, come home, read a little, sleep, and it starts over the next day." "What do you do for work?" "Finance. Investments. Nothing too exciting." Sarah nodded, eating a little more oatmeal. "But it pays well, I imagine." Ethan gave a small smile. "It does. I can't complain about that." Sarah realized he wasn't the arrogant, rich type she imagined. He was discreet, almost humble. He lived in a nice house, had an expensive car, but didn't flaunt it. He didn't think he was better than anyone else. "And you?" Ethan asked. "What did you do before?" "Before all this happened?" Sarah felt her stomach clench. She knew the conversation would eventually get there. "I worked at a bakery," she said softly. "Nothing special, just counter service, organizing shelves, things like that." "Did you like it?" Sarah thought for a moment. "I didn't love it, but it was work. It paid the bills. Or at least it did when I didn't miss work." Ethan frowned. "Why did you miss work?" Sarah took a deep breath. The memories came back like a punch. "Daisy got sick," she explained. "High fever, cough. I was terrified. I had no one to watch them, so I skipped work to take her to the clinic." Ethan listened in silence, attentive. "And when I went back the next day," Sarah continued, her voice trembling slightly, "my boss fired me. No warning, no second chance. He said I was irresponsible, that he couldn't rely on me." "But you were taking care of your sick daughter," Ethan said, incredulous. "He didn't care," Sarah shook her head. "Kai said he had other people wanting the job and wouldn't tolerate absences. Sent me home right then." Ethan gripped his cup hard. "That son of a—" He stopped, taking a deep breath to calm down. Sarah continued, the words coming out faster now. "I tried to look for another job, I really tried, but with 2 small babies, no one wanted to hire me. Everyone thought I'd miss a lot of work, and I had no one to leave them with for interviews." "And the rent?" Ethan asked. Sarah felt tears burn her eyes. "It fell behind, first a month, then 2. I begged the landlord, said I would manage to pay, that I just needed time, but he had no mercy at all." Her voice broke. "He showed up in the morning with 2 big guys, said I had an hour to leave. I tried to explain about the babies, about having nowhere to go. He wouldn't even listen. He threw our things out on the street." Sarah wiped the tears with the back of her hand. "I only managed to grab the essentials, some of the girls' clothes, the bottles. But most of our things were left there. He locked the door in my face." Ethan was silent, processing everything. His jaw was tense. "And you were on the street all day?" Sarah nodded, unable to speak. "I tried to ask for help," she finally said. "I called every number I had, but no one answered. Or they couldn't help. Or they just didn't want to." She wiped more tears away. "I walked through the city with them, trying to think what to do, but there was nothing. No shelter with an open spot. No place that would take babies. Nothing. And then it started to rain," Ethan completed softly. "Yes," Sarah sobbed. "I ran to the nearest bus stop. But there was no way to properly shelter myself. Water got in from every side, and the girls started to cry and cry and cry, and I couldn't do anything." The tears fell freely now. "I was in the rain with them, with nowhere to go," Sarah said, her voice broken. "I stood there thinking we were going to die, that I had failed as a mother. That I was useless." She covered her face with her hands, her shoulders shaking. Ethan got up. He came to her side and crouched, meeting her eye level. Gently, he held Sarah's hand. The touch was firm, warm, comforting. Sarah looked at him through her tears. "Sarah," Ethan said, his voice firm but gentle. "Look at me." She obeyed. "You didn't fail," he said slowly, emphasizing every word. "You didn't fail. You survived." Sarah shook her head, disagreeing. "I let my daughters go through this." "You protected your daughters," Ethan corrected. "You did everything you could. You worked, you fought, you tried. And when everything fell apart, you still stayed there holding them." shielding them with your own body from the rain. He squeezed her hand. That's not failing, Sarah. That's surviving. That's being a mother. Sarah sobbed louder. But they deserved more. They have you, Ethan said firmly, and you are exactly what they need. A mother who fights, a mother who doesn't give up. A mother who chooses to stay even when everything feels impossible. Sarah couldn't stop crying, but for the first time, they weren't just tears of despair. They were tears of relief, of being seen, of being heard. Ethan continued holding her hand. What happened to you wasn't fair, he said. It wasn't your fault. You were unfairly fired. You were evicted without humanity. You were abandoned when you needed help the most. He paused. But you survived. And your daughters did too. And now you're here, safe, warm, fed. Sarah looked into his dark eyes. There was an intensity there, a conviction she hadn't expected. You're going to be okay, Ethan said. I'm going to help you. I don't know how yet, but we'll figure it out together. Sarah squeezed his hand back. Why? She whispered. Why are you doing this? You don't even know me. Ethan was quiet for a moment. Then he gave a small, sad smile. Because I know what it's like to be alone, he said simply. I know what it's like to live in a silence that hurts. And when I saw you yesterday in the rain, I couldn't drive past, I couldn't pretend I didn't see. He stood up, but didn't let go of her hand. You don't need to thank me. You don't owe me anything. I just want you and your daughters to be okay, that's all. Sarah stood up too, her legs still trembling. I don't know how to repay you. You don't have to, Ethan interrupted gently. Just rest. Recover. Take care of your girls. We'll figure out the rest slowly. At that moment, they heard a cry coming from upstairs. Lily. Sarah quickly wiped her face. She must be hungry. Go on up, Ethan said. I'll prepare the bottles. Sarah went up the stairs, feeling something different in her chest, something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. In the room, Lily was waking up, her bright eyes blinking confusedly. Daisy was still sleeping beside her. Sarah picked Lily up. Good morning, my love, she whispered, kissing her daughter's forehead. Lily stopped crying and looked at her mother's face. Then she gave a small, toothless smile. Sarah felt her heart melt. She looked out the window. The sun was shining outside. The sky was clear. And for the first time in a long time, Sarah believed that maybe, just maybe, everything would be okay. She went downstairs with Lily in her arms. Daisy woke up shortly after, and Sarah picked her up too. Ethan had prepared 2 bottles. He handed one to Sarah with a smile. It's the right temperature. Sarah sat on the living room sofa, feeding the twins. Lily drank eagerly, hungry. Daisy was slower, still sleepy. Ethan sat in the armchair on the other side, just watching. The house no longer seemed so quiet. There was the sound of the babies sucking their bottles, the sound of Sarah murmuring softly to her daughters, the sound of life filling the empty spaces. And Ethan smiled. For the first time in years, his house felt like a home. The first few days were strange. Sarah would wake up in the morning still expecting to be on the street. But then she'd open her eyes and see the white ceiling of the guest room. She'd hear Lily and Daisy breathing beside her. She'd feel the warmth of the clean sheets, and she would remember that she was safe. On the 3rd day, Sarah went downstairs and found Ethan already in the kitchen making coffee. He turned when he heard her arrival. Good morning. Are the girls still sleeping? Yes, Daisy had a restless night, so they should wake up later. Ethan frowned. Is she okay? I think so. Just restless. They drank coffee together in comfortable silence. Sarah noticed that Ethan didn't ask intrusive questions. He didn't pressure her. He was just there after coffee. Lily woke up crying. Sarah went upstairs to get her, but when she returned, Ethan was already preparing the bottle. Let me do it, he said, testing the temperature on his wrist. Sarah handed Lily to him, a little hesitant. Ethan held the baby skillfully, as if he had done it before. Lily looked up at him with curious blue eyes, then grabbed the bottle nipple and started drinking. Sarah stood still, watching. Something squeezed her chest. You're good at this, she commented. Ethan shrugged. It's not that hard. You just need to pay attention to what they need. That afternoon, while Ethan worked in his home office, Sarah looked around the living room. It was clean, but some things were out of place. Pillows misaligned, magazines scattered. She started tidying up, not because she felt obligated, but because she needed to do something. She needed to feel useful. Sarah straightened the pillows, organized the magazines, wiped down the coffee table. Then she went to the kitchen and washed the dishes from the morning. When Ethan came out of the office, he stopped at the living room doorway and looked around. "You didn't have to do that." "I know," Sarah said, "but I wanted to help somehow." Ethan gave a small smile. "Thank you." On the fourth day, Daisy woke up with a fever. Sarah immediately panicked. She picked up the baby, feeling her skin was too hot. "Ethan," she called out, her voice trembling. He rushed up the stairs. "What's wrong?" "Daisy has a fever." "I don't know what to do. I don't have medicine. I don't have anything." "Calm down," Ethan said firmly. "Breathe. We'll take care of her." He went downstairs and came back with the thermometer he had bought at the store. He measured Daisy's temperature carefully. 101.3, as he said. "It's not too high, but it needs to come down. I'm going to get some infant pain reliever at the pharmacy. You give her a lukewarm bath in the meantime." Fahrenheit conversion for cultural relevance. Sarah nodded, still scared. Ethan returned in 15 minutes with medicine, more wipes, everything they might need. They spent the entire afternoon caring for Daisy. Ethan held her while Sarah prepared compresses. Sarah gave her the medicine while Ethan rocked the baby to calm her down. By the end of the afternoon, the fever broke. Daisy slept peacefully in Sarah's arms. "Thank you," Sarah said softly to Ethan. "I would have panicked alone." "You're not alone," he replied simply, and for the first time, Sarah truly believed it. From then on, a routine began to form. Ethan woke up early, made coffee, worked a few hours in the office. Sarah took care of the girls, tidied the house, and started cooking lunch. At first it was simple things: pasta, rice with chicken. But Ethan ate everything as if it were the best meal in the world. "You're a good cook," he said one day. "It's basic," Sarah replied, "but it's delicious. And it's good to have home-cooked food again." The afternoons were calmer. Ethan helped give the girls baths. In the beginning, Sarah did everything alone. But one day he offered help, and she accepted. Ethan held Lily while Sarah washed her blonde hair. Then they switched. He was careful, gentle, patient when the babies cried or fussed. "Have you taken care of babies before?" Sarah asked while they dried the girls. "No, but it's not rocket science. You just need to be careful and attentive." Sarah smiled. "You make it look easy." "Because it's not hard when you genuinely care." The girls began to respond to Ethan. Lily smiled when she saw him enter the room. Daisy reached out her little arms, asking to be held. When he came near, they were calmer, as if they recognized the security he brought. One day, Sarah went downstairs and found Ethan on the sofa with both babies asleep on his chest, one on each side. He was motionless, trying not to wake them, watching TV on mute. Sarah took a mental picture of that scene. "I need help," she whispered. "No," he whispered back, smiling. "I'm good right here." Laughter began to appear. Sarah laughed when Lily made a funny face. Ethan laughed when Daisy tried to grab her own foot and tumbled over. They laughed together when the two babies drooled all over the baby food and got completely messy. The house, once quiet, was full of sounds. Baby cries, laughter, conversations, low music playing, clanking pots, water running in the bath, sounds of life. Their conversations changed too. They were no longer just about the basic needs of the day. They started talking about other things. One night, after putting the girls to sleep, they sat in the living room with tea. "Did you always want to work in finance?" Sarah asked. Ethan thought for a moment. "No, I wanted to be a teacher when I was young. History. But after my parents died, I needed financial stability fast, so I went into business." "Do you regret it?" "Sometimes, but it gave me the life I have now, so I can't complain too much." Sarah took a sip of her tea. And you, Ethan asked. What did you want to be when you were a child? Sarah gave a sad smile. A veterinarian. I loved animals, but I never had money for college, so I just worked whatever job came up. Do you still like animals? Yes. One day I want to get a dog, for the girls to grow up with. Ethan smiled. On good idea. Another night, Sarah asked about his family. Do you have pictures of your parents? Ethan nodded and went to fetch an old album. They sat together on the sofa, flipping through the pages. They look happy, Sarah commented, looking at a photo of a smiling couple. They were very happy. The accident was unexpected. Car crash. Instantaneous. How old were you? 17. Almost 18. Sarah gently touched his arm. I'm so sorry. Thank you. It's been so long it doesn't hurt like it used to, but I still miss them. They would be proud of you. Ethan looked at her. You think? I'm sure of it. You're a good person, Ethan. Better than most. He held her hand for a moment. A brief but meaningful touch. The trust between them grew silently. Sarah started asking his opinion on small things. Which baby food to buy. If the girls needed more clothes. If it was too cold to go outside. Ethan started asking if she wanted to watch a movie after the babies slept. If she would like a certain thing for dinner. If she was feeling well. They began to exist in the same space with ease. Ethan would enter the kitchen while Sarah was cooking, and she no longer flinched. Sarah would enter his office to grab something, and he didn't find it intrusive. They shared the sofa watching TV, each in their own corner, but comfortable. A week after that first night in the rain, Sarah was in the kitchen making coffee when she realized something. She was smiling, for no specific reason, just smiling as she stirred sugar into her coffee. Ethan came in and saw, Good morning. Did something good happen? Sarah stopped, realizing it. No, I was just smiling. Ethan smiled too. That's good. It suits you. Sarah felt her face warm up. Thank you for everything, seriously. Stop thanking me, he said, grabbing a cup. You don't owe me anything, Sarah. We're just living together, and it's working. Sarah looked at him and realized he was right. It was working. The girls were happy. Sarah was beginning to recover. Ethan no longer seemed so lonely. The house was full now, full of life, laughter, purpose, and silently, without either of them fully realizing it yet, something was changing between them. It wasn't just gratitude on her part. It wasn't just kindness on his part. It was something more, something growing slowly, like a plant that sprouts without making a sound, but which one day will bloom. For now, they just existed together, and it was enough. 2:30 in the morning. Sarah woke up to a different kind of cry. It wasn't the normal baby cry asking for a bottle or a diaper change. It was a sharp, desperate, painful cry. Daisy? Sarah jumped out of bed, her heart already pounding. She turned on the light and saw Daisy convulsing, her little face red and wet with sweat. My God! Sarah picked the baby up. Daisy was burning up. Her skin was so hot Sarah almost dropped her in surprise. And then came the cough, a dry, hoarse cough that made the tiny body shake entirely. Daisy cried between coughs, unable to breathe properly. Sarah went into total panic. No, no, no. She kept repeating, rocking Daisy, trying to calm her, but the baby only cried louder. Lily woke up with the noise and started crying too, scared. Sarah didn't know what to do first. Hold Daisy, grab Lily, check the fever, think. Her hands were shaking violently. Easy, my love, easy, she whispered to Daisy, but her own voice came out in a panic. Daisy coughed again, harder. Her face turned purple for a second until she managed to catch her breath. Sarah felt terror take over. She can't breathe. My God, she can't breathe. Ethan! Sarah screamed, her voice pure despair. Ethan! She heard fast footsteps in the hallway. The door burst open. Ethan came in, his hair messy, wearing only a t-shirt and pajama bottoms. His eyes were still sleepy but alert. "What happened?" "It's Daisy," Sarah cried. "She has a very high fever and can't breathe properly." Ethan crossed the room in 2 steps. He touched Daisy's forehead and his face changed immediately. "Oh, she's burning up," he said, his voice tense. "How long has she been like this?" "I just woke up." "I don't know." Sarah could barely speak between sobs. Daisy coughed again, the sound echoing in the small room. Ethan didn't hesitate for a second. "Put on your jacket," he said firmly, already picking Lily up from the improvised crib. "We're leaving now." "What?" "To the hospital. Now, Sarah, let's go." Sarah was paralyzed for a second, fear freezing her in place. Ethan looked her in the eyes. "Sarah, jacket, now." His voice was firm but not rough. It was the voice of someone who knew what to do when everything fell apart. Sarah obeyed on autopilot. She grabbed the jacket hanging on the chair, put it on over her pajamas. Ethan was already going down the stairs with Lily in his arms, grabbing the car keys. Sarah followed him down, holding Daisy close to her chest. The baby kept coughing, crying, burning with fever. Ethan opened the back door of the car and helped Sarah get in with the 2 girls. "Hold both of them tight," he said, getting into the driver's seat. He started the engine and drove out of the garage quickly, but with control. The streets were empty at that hour. Ethan sped up, running yellow lights, driving precisely. Sarah in the back seat tried to calm Daisy, but the baby wouldn't stop coughing. Every cough made her tiny body shake. Lily cried softly, scared by the situation. "Hold on, my love," Sarah whispered, tears falling onto Daisy's face. "We're almost there. Just hold on a little longer." Ethan checked the rear-view mirror every few seconds. "How is she?" "Still coughing a lot, and the fever isn't dropping." "We're almost there." 10 minutes that felt like an eternity. Ethan drove quickly into the hospital parking lot, stopped in the closest spot to the emergency entrance, and rushed out to open Sarah's door. "Come, I'll carry Lily." They went into the emergency room. A few people were waiting in chairs. Ethan went straight to the counter, bypassing the line. "My daughter has a very high fever and can't breathe properly," he told the receptionist, his voice firm and urgent. The woman looked at Daisy in Sarah's arms and immediately picked up the phone. "How many months old?" "7, Sarah answered, her voice trembling. "Come with me." A nurse appeared with a wheelchair. "Quickly." Sarah sat, holding Daisy. Ethan followed beside her with Lily in his arms. They entered an emergency room. 2 doctors were already waiting. "Put her here," one of them pointed to the small bed. Sarah laid Daisy down, who immediately started crying louder, not liking being away from her mother. The doctor put in the thermometer, waited, looked. 103.6. "We need to bring that down now." Fahrenheit conversion. He turned to the nurse. "Injectable antipyretic and oxygen. Her saturation is low." Sarah covered her mouth with her hand, trying not to scream. Ethan placed his free hand on her back, firm, providing support. The nurse administered the injection. Daisy cried even harder. Then they placed a small oxygen mask over her face. "What does she have?" Sarah asked, desperate. "Please, tell me she'll be okay." The doctor examined Daisy carefully, listening to her lungs, checking her throat. "It looks like a respiratory infection, probably viral. We'll run some tests to be sure, but the important thing now is to control the fever and help her breathe better." "Will she be okay?" Sarah repeated, tears falling non-stop. The doctor looked at her seriously, but also gently. "We're going to take care of her, but she'll need to stay under observation for a few hours. Maybe until tomorrow morning." Sarah shook her head, trying to process. Ethan turned to Sarah. "Sit over there," he pointed to the chair in the corner. "Breathe. I'll watch Lily while they take care of Daisy." Sarah sat down, her legs wobbly. Lily had stopped crying and was now clinging to Ethan, her little face hidden in his neck. The doctors worked on Daisy, measuring, taking notes, adjusting the oxygen mask, administering medicine. Gradually, the coughing started to lessen. Her breathing became less labored. Daisy still cried, but it was a weaker, tired cry. After half an hour that felt like years, the doctor turned to Sarah. The fever has started to drop. Her breathing is improving. We'll move her to an observation room and monitor her overnight. Sarah let out a sigh of relief so deep she almost collapsed. Thank you. Thank you. They transferred Daisy to a small room. Sarah stayed by the bedside, holding her daughter's tiny hand. Daisy had finally stopped crying and was sleeping soundly, the oxygen mask still on her face. Ethan sat in the chair on the other side with Lily sleeping on his lap. The room was silent, only the sound of the monitor measuring Daisy's heart rate. Sarah looked at Ethan. He was there, in the middle of the night, in the hospital, holding Lily as if she were his own, without complaining, without questioning, just there. The tears returned, but this time they were different. Thank you, Sarah whispered, her voice choked. I wouldn't have known what to do without you. I would have panicked and wasted time and... God, I don't know what would have happened. Ethan looked at her with those dark, serious eyes. You're not alone, Sarah, he said simply. I told you that already. You're not alone. Neither you nor they. Sarah wiped her tears. But why? Why do you do all this? Ethan looked at Daisy sleeping in the bed, then at Lily on his lap. Then he looked back at Sarah. Because you need it, he said, and because I can help, and because, he paused, choosing his words, because having you in my house makes it feel less empty. Sarah felt something tighten in her chest. You're not obligated. I know, Ethan interrupted gently. It's not an obligation. I want to do this. I want to be here. I want you to be okay. He adjusted Lily better on his lap, the baby now snoring softly. And so stop thanking me as if it's a favor I don't want to do. I do, Sarah. It's okay. Sarah nodded, unable to speak further. They stayed there all night. Ethan slept a few hours in the uncomfortable chair, Lily on his lap. Sarah couldn't sleep, just watching Daisy breathe, counting every inhalation, making sure she was all right. Every now and then a nurse would come in, check vital signs, adjust something, and leave again. When the sun began to rise, Daisy opened her bright eyes. The fever had completely broken. Her breathing was normal. She looked at Sarah and gave a weak little smile. Sarah cried with relief. Hi, my love, she whispered, stroking her daughter's blonde hair. You're okay now? You're okay. The doctor came in the morning and examined Daisy again. The fever has passed. Her breathing is back to normal. She can go home, but needs to continue the treatment with antibiotics and antipyretics if the fever returns, and lots of rest. Will she be all right? Sarah asked one more time. She will, the doctor smiled. She's strong. She just needs to recover now. Ethan woke up with the conversation. Lily was still sleeping on his lap. They signed the discharge papers. Ethan went to the cashier and paid for everything without even asking the amount. Sarah tried to protest, but he just shook his head. We'll figure that out later. For now, let's just get them home. In the car, driving home with the sun already bright in the sky, Sarah looked back. Daisy was sleeping peacefully in the back seat. Lily was awake now, looking out the window. Sarah looked at Ethan driving, and she realized something that both frightened and comforted her at the same time. She was starting to depend on him. Not just physically, but emotionally. And for the first time, it didn't feel like a weakness. It felt right. When they arrived home, the sun was already high in the sky. Ethan parked in the garage and turned off the engine. For a moment, no one moved. The exhaustion weighed in the air like a physical thing. Sarah looked back. Daisy was sleeping soundly in the seat, her little face finally peaceful. Lily had just fallen asleep too during the ride home. I'll take them up to bed, Sarah said, her voice hoarse with fatigue. I'll help. Ethan carefully picked up Lily. Sarah picked up Daisy, still afraid to squeeze her too hard, as if the baby might break at any moment. They went up the stairs in silence. In the room, they laid the two girls down on the bed, surrounding them with pillows, the blonde hair of both spread out on the white sheets. Sarah stood there, just watching them breathe. "They're going to be okay," Ethan said softly behind her. "I know, I'm just still scared. It's normal." It was a tough night. Sarah ran a hand through her hair, tired. "You must be exhausted. Go get some rest." Ethan looked at her. "And you? I'm going to stay here a little longer, just watching them." "Sarah, you need to sleep too." "I know. I need to make sure they're okay." Ethan nodded, understanding. "I'll make some coffee. When you come down, we'll talk." He left the room, closing the door slowly. Sarah sat on the chair next to the bed, watching her daughters. Daisy was breathing normally now, her chest rising and falling at a tranquil rhythm. Lily had her fist closed near her face, sleeping soundly. The tears came without warning. Sarah covered her face with her hands, trying not to make a sound. But the crying came in force, all the accumulated fear of the night, all the despair, all the exhaustion. It all came out at once. She cried there, alone, for 15 minutes. When she finally managed to stop, Sarah wiped her face and went down the stairs. Ethan was in the kitchen. 2 steaming cups of coffee on the table. He looked up at her when she entered. "Sit down." Sarah sat, picking up the cup. The coffee was strong and hot. She took a sip, feeling the caffeine begin to take effect. Ethan sat across the table, watching her in silence. "You cried," he said. It wasn't a question. Sarah gave a small, sad smile. "I couldn't hold it in. It was too much. I know." Silence. Sarah took another sip of coffee. "I never had anyone to help me when things got bad," she said suddenly, her voice low. "It was always just me." Ethan didn't answer. He just waited. Sarah took a deep breath. "My parents died when I was 14, she began, looking at the cup. "Car accident. Head-on collision on the highway. They died instantly." Culturally adapting to the American context of accidents and loss. Ethan closed his eyes for a second. "Sarah, I had no one else," she continued. "No siblings, no living grandparents, no aunts or uncles who cared. I went into the foster care system. I went through 3 different homes until I turned 18. She took another sip of coffee, her hand shaking slightly. "And none of those homes were good. They weren't bad in a violent way, you know? But they were empty. I was just another mouth to feed, another body taking up space." Ethan gripped his own cup. "When I turned 18, I left. Started working at anything that came up. Restaurant, chow, store, cleaning, anything. I lived in a tiny room, but it was mine. For the first time, I had something that was mine." Sarah stopped, the memories coming back too vividly. "I worked so hard," she said, her voice breaking slightly. "Every day, 2 jobs sometimes, because I was scared. Scared of going back to having nothing. Scared of being on the street. Scared of depending on someone who could abandon me." "You never had support," Ethan said softly. "Never. It was always me figuring things out alone. Always me solving everything. Always me holding things together." She wiped away a tear that escaped. "And then I met him," Sarah said, bitterness in her voice. The girl's father, replacing the generic Pidas Meninas with a specific man's name. Ethan tensed, but didn't interrupt. "I was 24. I had been working at the bakery for 2 years. He came in there every day for coffee. Always friendly, always smiling, started making small talk. Asked me out a few times." Sarah shook her head. "I thought he was different. I thought I had finally found someone who cared, someone who would stay." "But he didn't," Ethan said. "No," Sarah confirmed, her voice hard. "When I found out I was pregnant, I was terrified, but also happy, because I was going to have a family. I was going to have someone who was truly mine." She let out a humorless laugh. I told him, super excited, thinking he would be happy too. "And you know what he did?" Ethan waited. He looked at me with disgust, Sarah said, tears falling now. Pure disgust. "And he said, That's not my problem. You deal with it. Ethan clenched his fists on the table. I tried to talk to him again, Sarah continued. I went to his place, called him, messaged him, but he blocked me everywhere, disappeared, as if I had never existed. She wiped her face with the back of her hand. And then I found out they were twins, 2 babies, alone, no one, not enough money saved, no family. Nothing. How did you manage? Ethan asked, his voice full of involuntary respect. I don't know, Sarah admitted. I just kept going. I worked until the last day I could stand. The bakery boss let me stay until the 8th month. After that, I stayed home, waiting. She stopped, her voice failing. When it was time for labor, I was alone in the apartment. I started feeling contractions in the middle of the night, called a cab, went to the hospital alone. Sarah covered her face with her hands. I gave birth alone, she said, her voice muffled. No one to hold my hand, no one to tell me it would be okay. The nurses were kind, but it wasn't the same. I was there, screaming in pain, terrified, not knowing if I would survive. Ethan stood up and came to her side, crouching next to the chair. Sarah. And when they were born, Sarah continued, tears falling non-stop now. I looked at those 2 tiny faces and thought, now I truly cannot fail. Now there are 2 lives depending on me. She looked at Ethan through the tears. I was so scared, alone, so scared, scared of not being able to take care of them properly, scared of not having money, scared of being a bad mother. But I had no one to share that fear with. It was just me. Ethan held her hands. I went back to work when they were 3 months old, Sarah said, because the money had run out. I left them with a neighbor who charged cheap, but it was always a rush, always on the edge, always 1 step away from falling. She breathed shakily. And then Daisy got sick, and I lost my job. And I couldn't pay the rent. And everything collapsed all at once. Sarah looked into Ethan's dark eyes. I was in the rain alone that day, she said, repeating every word slowly. Alone with them, nowhere to go, no one to call, thinking we were going to die there, all 3 of us, alone. Ethan squeezed her hands harder. Until you showed up, Sarah whispered. You were the first person who stopped, the first person who cared, the first person who helped me without asking for anything in return. Ethan's own tears glistened in his eyes now. Sarah, he said, his voice husky. You don't deserve to carry all this alone, but I always have, I know, and it was unfair. It was cruel. You didn't deserve to go through any of that alone. He held her face with both hands, making her look at him. But you're not alone anymore. Not as long as I can do something. Sarah sobbed, resting her forehead against his. They stayed like that for a minute, in silence, just breathing. Then Ethan stood up, pulled her up, and hugged her. A tight, protective hug that said everything words couldn't. Sarah allowed herself to break down there. She cried on his shoulder. She cried for everything she had been through, for all the loneliness, for all the fear, for all the times she had to be strong when she just wanted to give up. And Ethan held her tight, not letting go, not judging, just there. When Sarah finally calmed down, they sat down again. Ethan poured more coffee for both of them. Sorry for breaking down like that, Sarah said, wiping her nose with a napkin. Don't apologize. You needed to let that out. Sarah took a sip of the hot coffee. I don't know what to do now, she admitted. I don't know how to start over. I don't know how to give the girls a better life. I don't know anything. Ethan was quiet for a moment, thinking, I'm going to help you get back on your feet, he finally said, looking into her eyes with an intensity she hadn't expected. Sarah blinked. What? I'm going to help you truly start over, Ethan repeated. I don't know how yet. I need to think. But I'll find a way. Something that really changes your life. That gives you and the girls stability. Sarah shook her head. Ethan, you've already done too much. I haven't, he cut in. I gave you a roof and food. That's the basic. But it's not enough to truly change the situation. You need something more. A good job, a stable source of income. Independence. He leaned forward. And I'm going to help you get that, I promise. Sarah felt the tears return, but this time they were different. They weren't tears of despair, they were tears of hope. Why are you doing this? She asked again, her voice low. Why do you care so much? Ethan looked at her for a long moment. Because when I saw you in that rain with your daughters, I saw someone who fought harder than anyone should have to fight, someone who survived alone when they shouldn't have had to survive alone. He paused, and I thought, if I drive past, if I pretend I didn't see, I'll be just like all the other people who turned their backs on you. And I don't want to be that person. Sarah couldn't speak. She just looked at him, trying to process so much kindness coming from someone who barely knew her. Besides, Ethan continued, with a small smile, having you here has changed my life too. My house was too quiet, too empty. Now there's life, there's noise, there's purpose. He took her hand across the table. So it's not just kindness, it's selfishness too, because I don't want you to leave here. I want you to stay. And for that to happen, you need real stability. Sarah squeezed his hand back. I don't know how to thank you. Then don't, Ethan smiled. Just accept the help. And let me think of a plan. Sarah smiled for the first time since they had returned from the hospital. Okay, I accept. They stayed there, holding hands, in comfortable silence. Upstairs, Lily started whimpering, probably waking up hungry. Sarah stood up. I'll go see them. I'll come with you. They went up together. Lily was awake, her bright eyes looking for her mother. Daisy was still sleeping but stirring, about to wake up too. Ethan picked Lily up while Sarah prepared the bottles. When she came back, Daisy had also woken up. Sarah picked her up, checking her forehead to see if the fever had returned. It was normal. She's fine, Sarah said, relieved. I told you she would be. They sat on the bed together, each feeding a baby. Lily drank quickly, hungry. Daisy was slower, still recovering. Sarah looked at Ethan, holding Lily with such care. The baby looked at him with those huge blue eyes, trusting him. They like you, Sarah commented. I like them too, Ethan replied simply. You would be a good father. Ethan looked at her, surprised. You think? I'm sure of it. You're patient, gentle, present. That's all that matters. Ethan smiled, looking at Lily. Maybe one day. Sarah felt something tighten in her chest with those words, but she didn't say anything. When the girls finished their bottles, Sarah put them back in bed. They fell asleep quickly, still recovering from the difficult night. Sarah and Ethan went downstairs again. You need to sleep too, Ethan said. Go rest for a few hours. I'll keep an eye on them. You didn't sleep at all either. I'll rest later. Go on. Sarah didn't have the energy to argue. She went upstairs, lay down next to the girls, and passed out in seconds. When she woke up, it was already late afternoon. Sarah went downstairs and found Ethan in the living room, reading a book. The girls were still sleeping. How are they? She asked. They woke up once, had a bottle, went back to sleep. Everything's fine. Sarah sat on the sofa next to him. Thank you for letting me rest. Of course. They were silent for a moment. The sun came through the window, creating golden streaks on the floor. I've been thinking, Ethan said suddenly. About what? He turned to her. About how to truly help you, and I think I have an idea, but I'll need a few days to organize everything. Sarah felt hope grow in her chest. What kind of idea? Let me confirm a few things first, but it's something good. I promise, Sarah nodded. I trust you. Ethan smiled, and at that moment, Sarah realized it was true. She trusted him, completely, and for the first time in her life, she wasn't afraid to trust. 3 weeks after that night in the hospital, Sarah finally felt ready to leave the house. Daisy had completely recovered. Lily was healthy and growing. And Sarah, for the first time in months, didn't feel that crushing weight in her chest. It was a Saturday afternoon. The sun was shining outside. Ethan had gone out to take care of some work matters. Sarah looked at the twins playing on the living room rug. Lily tried to grab a colourful toy. Daisy babbled alone, her bright eyes shining. "Thought we should go out for a bit," Sarah thought. She dressed the girls in clean clothes, put Lily in a yellow outfit and Daisy in a light pink one. She combed their blonde hair. She packed the bag with diapers, bottles, and everything she might need. She left the house for the first time alone since Ethan had rescued her. The fresh air hit her face. Sarah took a deep breath. Freedom, or at least a taste of it. She walked to the bus stop. Not the same one from the rainy night, but another one, closer to Ethan's house. She took the bus downtown. People looked at the twins and smiled. Two identical blonde babies always drew attention. "They're beautiful," an elderly woman commented. "Twins?" "Yes," Sarah replied, proudly. "Lily and Daisy. Blessed. You're lucky," Sarah smiled. Lucky. Maybe now she really was. She got off downtown. The streets were busy, stores open, people walking around, the normal noise of a lively city. Sarah went into a children's clothing store, just to look. She didn't have money to buy anything, but she could dream. She ran her fingers over small dresses, tiny shoes. One day, she thought, one day I'll be able to buy these things for them. Then she went to a park. She sat on a bench, taking the girls out of the double stroller that Ethan had bought. She held both on her lap, letting them feel the sun on their skin. Lily laughed when a dog ran past. Daisy observed everything curiously, her little eyes following every movement. Sarah felt peace, a peace she hadn't known for a long time. She stayed there for an hour, just existing, without fear, without despair, just living. When she returned home, Ethan had already arrived. "How was the outing?" he asked, smiling. "It was good, very good." "We needed it." "That's good. You deserve it." Sarah put the girls on the rug and went to prepare dinner. Everything seemed normal, peaceful, safe. The following days were like this, calm routine. Ethan working, Sarah taking care of the girls in the house. Laughter, conversations, a life taking shape. Sarah started to feel happy. It was 4 days after the outing that everything changed. It was a Wednesday afternoon. Ethan was in his office working. Sarah was in the living room with the girls. Lily was sleeping on the sofa, surrounded by pillows. Daisy was on Sarah's lap, drinking her bottle peacefully. Then someone knocked on the door. Sarah frowned. They weren't expecting visitors. Ethan never received anyone. She carefully put Daisy down on the sofa next to Lily and went to the door. She looked through the peephole and froze. The blood drained from her face. Her heart stopped for a second before pounding violently. No, it couldn't be, but it was. On the other side of the door was him, the twins' father. Mark, the man who had abandoned her while pregnant, who had disappeared when she needed him most, who had turned his back on his own daughters before they were even born. Sarah took a step back, trembling. He knocked again, harder. "Sarah, I know you're there. Open the door." His voice, Sarah hadn't heard that voice in over a year, and yet she recognized it instantly. "Sarah!" he yelled louder. Ethan came out of the office. "What's going on?" Sarah looked at him, her eyes wide with terror. "It's him," she whispered. "Their father. He's here." Ethan's face hardened instantly. "Stay behind me." He pulled the door open with a dry tug. On the other side was a man in his 30s, brown hair, unshaven, ordinary clothes. Nothing special, but his eyes had something hard, calculating about them. He looked at Ethan, surprised. "Who are you? Who are you?" Ethan shot back, cold. The man looked over Ethan's shoulder and saw Sarah. Sarah. Finally, he tried to enter, but Ethan blocked the way. "I asked who you are." The man looked at Ethan with irritation. "I'm Mark." "Their daughter's father, and you." "Someone who actually cares about them," Ethan replied, his voice cutting. Mark gave a humorless laugh. "Look, I didn't come to fight. I just want to see my daughters." Sarah finally found her voice. She came out from behind Ethan, trembling all over, but furious. "Your daughters," she spat out the words. You abandoned them before they were even born. Mark had the audacity to shrug. I was confused at the time, but now I've grown up. I want to meet them. You have no right, Sarah screamed, tears already falling. You disappeared. You left me alone. You said they weren't your problem. On the sofa, the babies started crying from the noise of the shouting. Sarah ran to them, picking both up. Lily cried loudly, scared. Daisy clung to her mother, trembling. Mark tried to enter again. Just let me see them. Ethan placed himself between him and Sarah, physical this time, arm outstretched, completely blocking the path. You are not coming in here. Mark looked at Ethan with increasing anger. You have nothing to do with this. They are my daughters. Daughters you abandoned, Ethan said, every word coming out cold. You have no claim over them. Sarah hugged the girls tighter, trying to soothe their crying, but her own hands were shaking too much. Mark looked at Sarah, then at the babies in her arms, but there was no love in his gaze. There was no remorse. There was nothing but calculation. Ethan noticed. He knew that look. He had seen it in dishonest businessmen, in people who only saw others as tools, as a means to an end. Mark didn't come for love. He came for something else. Leave, Ethan said, his voice low and dangerous. I have rights. You have nothing. Leave before I make you leave. Mark looked at Ethan. He saw something in his eyes that made him reconsider his aggression. All right, he put up his hands. All right, I'm going. But we need to talk about this. There's nothing to talk about, Sarah screamed, her voice strangled. Get lost. Mark took one last look at the babies. Then he turned and walked down the porch steps. Ethan slammed the door shut and locked it. He turned and saw Sarah collapsing. She slid down to the floor, holding the twins, sobbing. He can't take them from me. Ethan crouched in front of her. He won't take them, I promise. But he's the father. Biologically, he has rights. He abandoned you. That counts. A lot. Sarah shook her head, panic taking over. He'll come back. I know he will. And he was right. 10 minutes later, knocking on the door again. Ethan stood up, tense. Stay here with them. He opened the door. Mark was there, but his posture was different now, less aggressive, more calculating. Look, Mark began. I think we got off on the wrong foot. You think, I know I was a jerk in the past, I admit it, but now I'm trying to do the right thing. Ethan crossed his arms. Is that so? And what would be the right thing? Meeting my daughters, being a part of their lives. Ethan observed him, the body language, the tone of voice, the choice of words, all fake. Get off my porch, Ethan said. Mark sighed, as if he were tired of pretending. Fine, let's stop messing around. He approached, lowering his voice. You seem like an intelligent guy, with money, living in a nice house like this. Ethan didn't answer. So let's be direct, Mark continued. I disappear, if you pay me. Disgust hit Ethan like a physical wave. What? You heard me, Mark gave a cynical smile. I know you're with Sarah, and the babies, and I know you don't want me showing up, causing trouble. He crossed his arms. So pay me a decent chunk of cash. I'll sign any papers you want, paternal rights relinquishment, whatever. And I disappear, I never come back. Ethan felt like punching his face. You're trying to sell your own daughters, Mark shrugged. I'm offering a solution. You want them, pay, simple as that. Ethan took a step forward, invading Mark's personal space. His voice came out low, dangerous, full of promise. I won't give you anything. Mark blinked, surprised by the firmness. Listen here. No. You listen. Ethan cut him off. Joyce, they are much better off without you. You're not a father. You're garbage. And I don't negotiate with garbage. Mark turned red with anger. You don't know who you're talking to. I know exactly who I'm talking to, Ethan said, even colder. I'm talking to a coward who abandoned a pregnant woman. To a worm who now wants to profit off innocent children. He stepped closer. Stay away. Don't come back here, because if you do, I will make your life a living hell. I have resources, lawyers, contacts, and I will not hesitate to use all of it against you." Mark tried to maintain his composure, but Ethan saw the fear starting to appear. "What if I go after my rights legally?" "Go ahead," Ethan said. "Try it. You abandoned them. You never gave a dime. You were never present. Any judge will see you for what you are." He took one last step, making it clear the conversation was over. "Now get off my property before I call the police for trespassing and threat." Mark looked at Ethan. He saw he wouldn't win here. He saw he had chosen the wrong person to try and extort. "You'll regret this," he spat. "I doubt it. Now leave." Mark walked down the steps, furious and humiliated. He got into an old car parked on the street and sped away. Ethan stood there watching until he was sure he was gone. Then he went back inside, locking the door. Sarah was still on the floor, holding the girls. She looked at him with red eyes. What did he want? Ethan crouched in front of her. Money. He wanted money to disappear. Sarah closed her eyes, new tears falling. He tried to sell his own daughters. "Yes, but I sent him away. What if he comes back? What if he really goes after them legally?" Ethan held her face with both hands. "He won't show up again," he said with total conviction. "And if he does, I'll take care of it. I'll take care of you." Sarah looked into his eyes and saw the truth there, the determination, the promise. "Thank you," she whispered. Ethan pulled her into a hug, careful of the babies between them. Sarah rested her head on his shoulder and finally let the fear out. She cried, but this time it wasn't just despair. It was relief. Relief at not being alone. Relief at having someone who fought for her. Relief at knowing that Mark wouldn't be able to destroy the life she was building. "You are safe," Ethan murmured into her hair. "I promise, you are safe here with me." Lily and Daisy had stopped crying. They were quiet now, squeezed between the two adults, feeling the security. Sarah pulled away slightly, wiping her face. "He never wanted them," she said, her voice broken. "Not even now. He just saw an opportunity to make money." "I know. How can someone be like that? How can someone look at their own daughters and only see money?" Ethan shook his head. "I don't know, but people like that exist, and they don't deserve a second of your time." Sarah looked at the twins. Lily had fallen asleep again, exhausted. Daisy looked at her mother with those confident blue eyes. "They deserve more," Sarah said. "And they will have more," Ethan promised. "I will make sure of it." Sarah looked at him, and at that moment, something changed inside her. It wasn't just gratitude. It wasn't just trust. It was something deeper, something that was both frightening and comforting at the same time. But she didn't have words for it yet, so she just said, "Thank you for everything." Ethan smiled, that small, gentle smile. Always. He helped her stand up. Together, they took the girls to the room, laying them down for an afternoon nap. When they went downstairs, Ethan said, "I'm calling my lawyer tomorrow. Just to make sure that if he tries anything legally, we're prepared." Sarah nodded. "Do you really think he'll try?" "No. He's a coward, and now he knows he won't get anything here. But it's good to be prepared anyway." They sat on the sofa. Sarah was still trembling slightly. Ethan put his arm around her, letting her lean against him. "It's okay," he said softly. "See, it's over. He's not coming back." And Sarah believed him. For the first time on that awful day, she truly believed that everything would be okay. The days following Mark's appearance were tense. Sarah woke up expecting him to knock on the door again. Every noise in the street made her freeze. Every passing car made her heart race. But Mark didn't return. Ethan had spoken to his lawyer. Everything was documented. If Mark tried anything, he wouldn't stand a chance. "He's not coming back," Ethan repeated whenever he saw Sarah tense. "And if he does, I'll handle it." It took a few days, but Sarah started to believe him. On the third day, she was able to go out into the backyard without watching the street. On the fifth day, she slept through the night without waking up to check the doors. On the seventh day, peace returned. The house was quiet again, not the empty silence from before, but a tranquility full of life. Lily babbling, Daisy giggling, Sarah humming in the kitchen, Ethan coming home from work with a smile. Sarah realized she could breathe without that weight in her chest. The girls felt it too. Lily easily started smiling again. Daisy, who had been waking up crying every night for a week, started sleeping peacefully again, their blonde hair always clean and shiny, their bright eyes always curious. Ethan changed too. He had always been present, but now it was different. He worked fewer hours locked in his office. He was always nearby. If Sarah was cooking, he would show up offering help. If the girls cried, he would immediately pick one up. If Sarah was too quiet, he would ask if everything was okay, more protective, but not suffocating, in the right way. A week later, Sarah was in the kitchen doing the dishes. The girls were sleeping. Ethan came in and leaned against the counter. "Are you okay?" "I am. Why?" "You've been quiet all day." Sarah smiled. "Just tired." He stayed there, keeping her company while she finished. "You know, you can talk to me about anything, right?" he said. "Even about him, if you're scared or worried." Sarah turned to him. "I trust you, Ethan, really." "For the first time in my life, I completely trust someone." Ethan looked into her eyes. "Good, because you can." And Sarah believed it. 10 days later, on a quiet night, Sarah was on the sofa reading. Ethan came downstairs, his hair still damp from a shower. He sat on the sofa. They were in comfortable silence for a few minutes. Then Ethan spoke. "Sarah." She looked up. "I want you to know something." Sarah closed the book. Ethan looked her in the eyes. "You are safe here, you and the girls. I will not let anything happen to you. Nothing." Sarah felt something tighten in her chest. "I'm telling you because it's true," he continued. "As long as you're here, I'm protecting you from anything." "From anyone." He paused. "You don't have to be afraid anymore. Not of Mark. Not of being on the street again. Not of anything. Because I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere." Sarah felt the tears. "Why are you so good to us?" Ethan smiled. "Because you deserve it, and because you changed my life." He reached out his hand. Sarah took it. There, holding hands in the silence of the night, Sarah felt a peace she had never known. True peace. Not the absence of problems, but the presence of security, the certainty that she was not alone. For the first time since her parents died, Sarah felt at home. The days continued to pass peacefully. Ethan worked. Sarah took care of the girls and the house. They had dinner together every night, talked about everything, laughed about silly things. Lily tried to crawl. Daisy made funny noises all the time. Both were growing, getting smarter every day, and Ethan was there for every moment. He filmed when Lily scooted across the floor. He laughed at Daisy's faces. He woke up in the middle of the night when they cried. He changed diapers, gave baths. Sarah watched and felt her heart clench. She was starting to feel something for him, something beyond gratitude, but she was afraid to name it, afraid of ruining what they had, afraid of losing the only stability she had known, so she kept it to herself. 2 weeks after the confrontation with Mark on a regular Thursday, Ethan left for work in the morning. "I'll be back at 6, he said, kissing Lily's forehead and then Daisy's. "If you need anything, call me." "We'll be fine," Sarah smiled. The day passed peacefully. Sarah played with the girls, cooked, cleaned the house. In the late afternoon, she bathed them and dressed them in clean pajamas. Lily was tired and fell asleep on Sarah's lap while she sat on the sofa. Daisy was awake, playing with her own feet. It was almost 6 when the door opened. Ethan entered, dropping his briefcase. He looked tired, but when he saw the scene, his face changed completely. Sarah on the sofa, Lily asleep on her lap, her blonde hair spread on her mother's arm. Daisy on the rug, who, upon seeing Ethan, babbled happily, reaching out her arms. Ethan smiled, that genuine smile. He took off his shoes, crossed the room, and picked up Daisy. "Hi, princess," he murmured, kissing her cheek. Daisy giggled, grabbing his shirt. Then Ethan sat down next to Sarah. Still holding Daisy, he took her free hand. Sarah looked at him, surprised. Ethan was serious, as if he was about to say something important. "Sarah," he began, his voice low, "I need to tell you something." Her heart sped up. "What?" Ethan squeezed her hand. "These last few weeks have been the best of my life." Sarah blinked. "Having you here," he continued, "waking up knowing the house won't be empty, hearing the girls talking to you, eating dinner together, living together." He paused. "I don't want this to be temporary, Sarah." Sarah felt the tears starting. "Ethan, let me finish," he asked gently. "I don't just want to be the one who helped you. I don't just want to be the guy who gave you shelter. I want to be with you, for real." Sarah started crying silently. Ethan touched her face, wiping away the tears. "Sarah," his voice was choked, "I want to start a family with you." Her tears fell faster. "I know it's fast," Ethan continued. "I know we met a short time ago, but I've never been so sure of anything. You and these girls are what was missing." Sarah couldn't speak. "I want to wake up every day and see you," Ethan said. "I want to be here when they start walking, talking, growing up. I want to be the father they deserve. I want to be the partner you deserve." He held her face. "I'm in love with you, Sarah, and with them. And I want us to be a real family." Sarah finally found her voice. "You already are." Ethan blinked. "What?" Sarah touched his face. "You are already our family, Ethan," she repeated, smiling through her tears. "Since the first day, since you stopped in that rain, since you took care of them as if they were yours, since you made me feel safe." She leaned in. "You are their father. You are my everything." Ethan closed his eyes, his own tears falling. "I love you," he whispered. "I love you too," Sarah replied, and then he kissed her, gentle, careful, full of promise. Lily continued sleeping. Daisy babbled happily, as if she was celebrating. When they pulled apart, Ethan rested his forehead against hers. "So we're going to be a family?" Sarah laughed through her tears. "We already are, remember?" Ethan laughed too. Daisy tugged on his hair. Ethan winced, making the baby laugh more. Sarah watched and felt her heart so full it almost hurt. Outside, the rain began to fall. It wasn't a storm. It was soft, gentle, the kind that cleanses the air. Sarah looked out the window and smiled. Rain no longer scared her. It didn't mean despair, now it was just rain. Ethan followed her gaze. Raining again. "It is," Sarah said, "but we're inside, safe, together." Ethan pulled her closer. "Forever," he promised. "We'll be together forever." Sarah rested her head on his shoulder. Daisy yawned, getting sleepy. Ethan rocked her, the movement automatic. There on the sofa with the twins between them, listening to the rain fall softly outside, a family was completed. It wasn't the family Sarah had planned. It wasn't the one Ethan had imagined when he bought that house, but it was their family, built in despair, strengthened by kindness, cemented in love. "Let's take them to bed," Ethan whispered. They went up together. They laid the girls down, covering them carefully. Lily and Daisy slept side by side, their little faces peaceful, their hands almost touching, their blonde hair spread on the pillows. Sarah and Ethan stood there watching. "Our girls," Ethan said softly. "Our girls," Sarah agreed. They went downstairs holding hands. Ethan pulled Sarah into another hug. "Thank you," he said, "for letting me be a part of this, for trusting me, for giving me a family." Sarah squeezed him tighter. "Thank you for stopping the car, for not driving past, for saving us." "We saved each other," Ethan replied, and it was true. He had saved them from the rain, the street, the despair, but they had saved him from loneliness, from a life without purpose. Outside, the rain continued to fall softly, a relaxing sound, a sound of home. Inside the house, a new life had begun. Sarah was no longer the desperate woman at the bus stop. She was a secure mother, a loved woman. Ethan was no longer the lonely man. He was a father, a partner, someone with purpose. And Lily and Daisy were no longer abandoned babies. They were loved, protected, complete. A family, not perfect, but real and full of love. Sarah looked around. The same room where she had entered soaked and desperate, where she had slept the first night without fear. Now it was more than a room. It was the heart of a home. Theirs, all of them. "Come on," Ethan said, pulling her to the sofa. "Let's enjoy the silence." Sarah laughed. "In 2 hours, one of them will wake up." "Then let's enjoy these 2 hours." They sat together, intertwined, watching the rain. And Sarah realized that for the first time in her life, she wasn't planning tomorrow with fear. She wasn't worrying about what could go wrong. She was just living, in the present, in peace, with the man she loved, the daughters she adored, the home she finally had. The rain fell throughout the night, but inside there was only warmth, only love, only family. And Sarah slept that night in Ethan's arms, the twins safe in the next room, knowing that she had finally found her place in the world, a place where she was loved, a place where she belonged, a place called home. A new home had been born, not in perfect circumstances, not in the traditional way, but born from what truly mattered: love, protection, family. And for Sarah, Ethan, Lily, and Daisy, that was everything. It was everything they had ever needed. It was finally home. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next ones. Leave a like because it helps this story get recommended to more people. See you in the next story.